So, this is a thing now.
You gotta cut the fat on your diet. You gotta get on that bike. You need energy. Just drinking caffeine, get the off it. Okay, you need perfect sleep. And remember, sugar in the absence of fat is healthy. Will get you shredded.
Totally fine, so long as most of your carbs come from high fiber sources like fruits and veggies, whole grains. Sugar is not inherently bad for your health somehow. Yes, fructose gets in the liver and stuff like that, and that's totally fine as well. But generally, everything breaks down into sugar, and your body uses simple sugars in most of its processes. The sugar can't be that bad for you, and all the research says it's not.
What are you eating on the sugar diet to lose 14 pounds? That's right. I have lost 14 pounds in 2.5 weeks using the sugar diet protocol. And a lot of people want to wonder and know, what are you eating? So we're going right along to some triggering items. Trigger warning for some people, right? The Sour Patch Kids, we all know. Oh boy, not the Sour Patch Kids. Oh, they're so bad. Also, if you're someone who's afraid of eating too many of those and you can't stop, get a hard candy. Jolly Ranchers right here. Blow Pops, good old fashioned Blow Pops. It's great for you, it's great for your kids, right? Blow Pops, every once in a while, I'll throw one of these in the mouth. We got what, 20, 30 minutes of satiation?
In this video, I'm gonna give you guys an update on my progress with the sugar diet. Everything from weight loss to performance to how I feel. And I'm also gonna give you guys sort of an average day of eating, what it looks like for me, how many meals per day I eat.
What I eat in a day is a 43-year-old who lives off-grid on a high-sugar diet. I call this my strawberry milkshake, and it's packed with sweetness. 15 dates and a bunch of strawberries. I'll give you the full recipe soon. I then planted out our dry season veggie garden with heaps of lettuce. Then, you guessed it, it was time for more sugar after my short jog. So about 700 mils of freshly squeezed mandarin juice with a few tablespoons of maple sugar. There wasn't enough sugar in the day, so I also made some homemade human honey. Let me know if you want the recipe.
I don't want to know what's in human honey.
As Shakespeare once said, sugar is to fruit as butter is to steak. He knew that the carnivores would add butter to their steaks because there's not enough fat in meat, even though we're designed to run on fat. Where are all the animals lean? Don't worry about that. Shakespeare knew that we would evolve one day from being meat-eating scum up into a higher realm of fruitarian wisdom. But sometimes the fruit isn't sweet enough, so I add a little help in the form of refined sugar, and I will explain to you why that is the superior path to the butter lard people.
So I don't know about you guys, but if I want nutrition advice, that's the first place I go. It's either Hamlet, Macbeth. It's definitely Shakespeare because he's a man, just saying. Yep, the sugar diet, it's a real viral trend right now. But where did this come from? And who's doing this? Does it actually work? And is it safe? Well, we're going to talk about all of those things today on the Carnivore Science Channel. Okay, so being a little more serious, there is a reason why this works metabolically for weight loss in some people, and key caveat, in some people. I can definitively say, though, is this healthy? No, it is not. There is a mechanism for this, and I could explain it, but I think that Thomas DeLauer, you might have heard of him. He used to be very obese, used to be a really big guy, and he lost a bunch of weight. He went keto and became an influencer about the keto diet. He was all about the keto diet. He has evolved. He's more of an omnivore now. I don't follow him that closely anymore, but he really got into biochemistry. So as a chemist, I can actually appreciate his approach, because he does get into the actual biochemical processes and pathways and tries to understand what's going on in his body. So I do appreciate anybody who researches that hard. What he's talking about here, when he's talking about this messenger molecule, he is actually 100% correct about that. That is part of the mechanism of why this works.
He's eating hundreds of grams of sugar a day.
This is my breakfast. I had some Sour Patch Kids, Starburst, jelly beans, 8 ounces of apple juice.
Literal sugar, like Sour Patch Kids for breakfast. Has Mark Bell lost his mind? Like, what is going on? Now, if you were to look at him even a year ago, the guy is a very low carb, high fat approach type of guy. And he's dropping followers like mad because he's doing this sugar fasting or this sugar diet. Another guy, Cole Robinson, who was kind of doing the snake diet before, he was that guy. He's been talking about doing this sugar diet. It sounds completely crazy, and it is a little crazy, but there's a couple really, really, really important caveats to know with like what's going on here with Mark. And before anyone just jumps in and does what he's doing, or before anybody jumps in and completely discounts what he's doing, you should probably understand that there is a logical reason and an actual like real scientific reason behind why he's doing what he's doing. There is a messenger molecule in the body that's called FGF21, and that's what he's leveraging, and that's what the whole sugar fasting thing can leverage. But a couple quick things to note. You have to be in a deficit, fat has to be tremendously low, and you have to be able to consume enough to keep on elevating and sort of revving up this messenger molecule FGF21. Mark has done a low-carb, high-fat diet for an immense amount of time, which means that his cellular machinery is very primed to dietary fat coming in. Okay? So what that means is that he's been feeding himself so much dietary fat that his cells are used to that. The moment that he drops that dietary fat down very low, his body is gonna still be looking for it. It's gonna be looking for fat. So what's it gonna do? It's gonna pull from what fat stores he does have, and it's gonna allow him to get very lean. So FGF21 is a messenger molecule, and what happens is when you consume pure sucrose, not starches, but pure sucrose, like literal sugar, it activates this molecule and it actually revs up the metabolism significantly. There are multiple studies that demonstrate that when FGF21 is elevated, it ramps up energy expenditure. So it's kind of like, you ever see those people that just eat tons and tons and tons of sugar and they stay skinny? Well, sometimes you have a genetic predisposition to actually increase FGF21 even more. As a matter of fact, when you are fasting, partway into a longer fast, you start increasing FGF21, and all of a sudden your energy expenditure can go up a little bit during a fast. Now, is it me condoning it? Not necessarily, okay? Because there's a very, very, very important piece that we need to note here. Journal of Obesity and Diabetes Metabolism had published a paper that found that when people were overweight, obese, or type 2 diabetic, their FGF21 levels were very high. And the higher their BMI, the higher their FGF21. What they were finding is that it was actually an indicator of metabolic distress. And the reason is because when there is more adipose tissue or insulin resistance, the FGF21 doesn't actually bind at the tissue level. So you can produce it, but it's just gonna keep producing on top of each other and stacking and stacking and stacking, never actually get to the end result. Where Mark is different is Mark is already lean and metabolically healthy. So he can do this FGF21 sugar diet thing, and it's actually gonna kick him into another gear he didn't know he even had. So no wonder he's getting shredded like crazy. Where we have to be careful is the evidence is quite strong that if you already have a metabolic dysfunction or you're overweight, this is not gonna really help you much. And the reason is because you're going to be stacking FGF21 and never actually have it get to the end result. My strong recommendation is that this is a tremendous way for people that are already fit to get super shredded in a short period of time. I mean, that's just all there is to it. Now, the other thing that we need to remember is that FGF21 resistance, which is what I explained when people are type 2 diabetic or obese, also increases with age. Okay, so for a number of reasons, the tissue becomes less receptive to FGF21. And it's one of the reasons why when you're young, it has less to do with your metabolism being fast and more to be with the fact that you can be more receptive to FGF21. You can eat more sugar and it's going to have more of an effect on actually giving you energy. Whereas when you consume sugar when you're older, it seems to just like crash you. And it has to do with this FGF21 once again.
So a lot of carnivores are now going after the sugar diet claims and trying to expose how unhealthy it is. And there's a lot of accusations of being a hypocrite. The problem with that is it doesn't work the other way. So carbohydrates, sugar, is not an essential nutrient. It never has been. It is not now, and it never will be, because your body can make it. Okay, your body can generate the glucose that it needs, and it does use glucose and it does need it, but it doesn't need you to eat it in sugar form. It makes it anyway. When you deprive yourself of fats and protein, that's a problem. You're going to get sick because you can't make all that. That's something you have to have. These are essential nutrients, especially fat. Fat is what you actually use to build a lot of your sex hormones. You build a lot of things. You build your brain out of cholesterol. So if you're depriving yourself of that, you're going to make yourself sick. However, and especially when you're looking at carbohydrates in today's world, you're talking about refined, processed, highly palatable foods that are just destructive as they can be. So you do not want to consume anything like that because you're just marinating yourself in the stuff, and insulin resistance becomes a problem. We all know how that works. So the problem with people, turning the spotlight back on carnivores, saying you're being hypocritical, or low keto people or whatever, and people who avoid sugar, it doesn't work that way. So in the end, does this work for some people? Yeah, it does, for weight loss, fairly rapid, sometimes weight loss. But the reason it does is because of these metabolic pathways and because of how your body responds to it. And it's for people who are metabolically fit, who really, most of this is these, the athletes that are trying to get shredded. Everybody's trying to get shredded. You have these people who are, power lifters and things like that, and their goal is always to get as low a body fat as humanly possible. So this is not about health. This is about appearance mostly, and some performance when it comes to athletic performance. If you are metabolically sick and you start marinating yourself in sugar, you're going to get way sicker. You're going to make yourself really, really ill. So I hope that explains a little bit of what this sugar diet is and who it may be for. What I would suggest, if you're a carnivore, keto, or something like that, particularly carnivore, and you want to stress your system, because there's one thing to be said about stressing the system, okay? Back in the days when we didn't have all these modern conveniences and supermarkets and all of the stuff we have today, we had to fight for our food. Sometimes we would go without food. We would be fasting. Sometimes we would feast. We would have a lot of food. Sometimes we would, occasionally have to eat something outside of our diet, which would mean, fruits or vegetables or something like that someone was driven to eat because they didn't have meat. When that happened, your body has to respond. Your body is like, okay, now I've got to fast. Now I've got meat. Now you have adjustments that you're responding to things. You're responding to different stimulus, right? So it has to use different pathways, different mechanisms to actually, give you energy and strength and everything. So there's something to be said for that. But when it comes to modern sugar, there's nothing good about that. There's not anything good about that at all. Now, fruits, I kind of put those in a similar category as to modern sugar type of foods because they're actually clones. Most plants they're modified genetically, they're giant, they're big sugar bombs. And you've got the issue of fructose to deal with. Fructose is 7 times more glycating than just the regular sugar that you would eat. So it's a problem. It gives the liver problems. You don't want to be marinating yourself in fructose for sure. So that's one of the reasons high fructose corn syrup is a problem for just that reason. And sugar, this type of sugar is coming from a lot of fruits. If you compare certain, like a banana from a long time ago to a banana today, they don't look anything alike. They don't taste anything alike. Basically, fruits look like candy more than they do the original fruit. So that's something to consider. If you are metabolically healthy and you're one of these weightlifters and you do something like this, I don't think that anybody should be eating Sour Patch Kids or Jolly Ranchers or any of this refined sugar. So you also have to be in a calorie deficit for the sugar diet to work. Keep that in mind. That goes back to the days of, oh, eat less and move more. We all know how well that worked. What I recommend to carnivores, if you are looking for a weight loss jump, is a fat fast. Now that's me personally. What I recommend works the best for me is a fat fast. It's worked for a lot of other people too. It's where you actually only eat fat for about, I don't know, a week. You can do it for several days, a week, however long, and you see a significant amount of weight loss in most cases. At least that's what my experience has been. You can also go the rabbit starvation route where you're eating low fat with protein mostly. That will also work. But again, what they call that is rabbit starvation because you're not getting the essential fats that you need to function. That may make you feel like crap. It would work for weight loss, and you're not consuming sugar and you're not marinating yourself in insulin necessarily. But I kind of shy away from anything that cuts out fat because we all know how well the 90s worked out for people. But I hope this explains the sugar diet and why, if you are metabolically ill in particular, you need to stay away from this fat diet because it's going to cause you a lot of problems. Carnivores mostly who have been on the carnivore diet for a while and have healed their medical conditions don't have to hear this video to understand how bad of an idea this is. The problem with this diet, one of the big problems with this diet, is that people are desperate for weight loss out there. But they're also desperate not to confront the fact that they're food addicts and they're sugar addicts, because sugar is highly addictive. So the idea that you need to be in a deficit for this diet and you're eating sugar, if you're a sugar addict, you are not going to be in a deficit because you're not going to be able to stop eating the sugar. So it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy of failure, actually, when it comes to people like that. Sugar addiction is one of the biggest reasons why people are so obese and so sick. So the fact that there are influencers pushing Jolly Ranchers and Sour Patch Kids to people, this is going to cause relapses. This is going to cause sickness in metabolically unhealthy people already. But it gives them the idea that they can just, oh, well, I can have my cake and eat it too. I can eat all the junk I want and I can still lose the weight. That's not the way it works. And if you are a sugar addict, you have to stay as far away from anything that causes you to binge as possible. So insulin resistance, sugar addiction, metabolic disorder, all of these things are reasons that you would not start the sugar diet. A lot of people are making videos about how sugar's great. It was all a lie. It's wonderful for you. And it's okay to eat it. It's okay to eat highly refined processed foods. That was established a while ago. I think we've pretty much settled that argument. But they're still saying it's okay. It's not. And unfortunately, the people who try this may find out the hard way. So I hope this was informative, and I hope you understand a little better about what the sugar diet is and where it came from. Again, please subscribe to the channel if you would like to, and give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.